Today, the European Commission launched a raft of new financial responses designed to protect EU economies both during and after the coronavirus crisis. These are designed to get cash quickly to those who need it and to keep people in employment. Now, Commission President Ursula von der Leyen was keen to talk about these measures rather than the more contentious corona bonds idea. Now, she announced a 100 billion euro EU mechanism called SURE. That's for short-term employment. It's designed to stop companies from laying people off. She also announced a 7 billion euro coronavirus response investment initiative. Now, that's in addition to the already announced 3 billion euro emergency support instrument, which includes the RESC-EU fund. But the big picture here is that President von der Leyen wants to use the EU's existing long-term budget, the MFF, as the tool to fight this coronavirus fire rather than any new tools, as she put it, which are proving contentious and would take many years to agree. Now, with that, she's referring to these corona bonds. These are essentially rebranded euro bonds, that idea that came up in the 2008 to 2012 financial crisis, where countries in the South wanted the EU to collectivize debt in order to stop individual countries from completely collapsing. Northern European countries didn't like that idea. Back then, we heard a lot this idea of moral hazard, that they didn't want to reward countries who were seen as having made mistakes or to have been acting in a profligate way. But the situation is very different this time because every EU country is going to have to take on debt in order to fight this crisis. And nobody really did anything wrong here. It's just chance that Italy and Spain were the earliest hit. And perhaps for that reason, we've really seen Germany, which was so fiercely opposed to Eurobonds 10 years ago, they've really stepped back here and been very quiet. It's just been the Netherlands who have been vocally opposing this idea of corona bonds, and they've become quite unpopular in the European Union these days for it. Now, von der Leyen thinks that everyone is getting very sidetracked by this corona bonds issue. She says the fact that the long-term MFF budget wasn't agreed before this crisis hit, by the way, because the frugal Dutch were blocking agreement on that, that's actually a blessing in disguise, because now that long-term budget for 2021 to 2027 can be adjusted to take the coronavirus into account. That money can go out quickly. It's not contentious. So she's really trying to push this idea, but I'm not sure that it will fly in Southern Europe because this corona bonds issue has become a linchpin for long-standing tensions between the north of Europe and the south of Europe that were still left simmering after the financial crisis. So we'll see how eager countries are to pick up this idea of using the MFF to fight coronavirus, the economic effects of coronavirus. In the meantime, the financial ministers have 2 weeks to decide a firm yes or no to the corona bonds debt collectivization idea.